Today we're going to be talking about a little thing called the frolic effect. Okay? Now, does anyone know what that is?
The frolic effect.
Yeah, but it's spelled. It doesn't really matter, but because even if you see it and you still don't know, it's not changing the spelling. It's not going to change it much, but something like that. But anyways, I'm glad none of you guys know it. None of you guys or gals know it because we're going to explain to you what it is about today. We got a couple videos to start us off, I believe.
So these are two very short videos. They're dealing with vastly different themes. So we'll just ask everyone to keep an open mind to the videos.
Yeah.
I think I'm on Mozilla. Here we go. So we have two videos about 40 seconds long.
Is the volume
First
on?
one. I hope it is.
You plugged in the audio?
I did plug in one.
You don't do everything for us. We fall apart here.
I mean, you can just put my laptop
I'm
on.
already offended at the title of this video.
What?
That's kind of the point.
That's the point, man.
I know. But if Norm Macdonald says it, that's okay.
That's what we thought.
Whatever he says.
That's what we thought too.
Whatever he says is okay with me. Most of his film appearances,
I think the sound on my laptop isn't on.
I turned it on already. It's already.
Not a woman, nor
Okay.
Sorry, everyone. So,
Yeah.
start over.
Okay, we're starting over.
kind of womanhood now, but I am not a woman, nor will I ever be. 3 sentences later, I use the women's restroom because I am a woman. I changed my gender on my birth certificate to female because I am a woman. So it's a little confusing there, right?
Not for me. What's wrong with that?
Well, here it says I am not a woman. Here it says
Well,
I
okay, I
am
am
a
a
woman.
woman. Okay. That. I.
What?
Yeah.
So here's our
See?
one.
Seems like curve.
Okay, so you guys got that last one. It was a bit blurry, but like a big fight was going to happen on a subway, and a guy just came out of the seat and pulled his pants down. And anyways, fight deterred. So the frolic effect.
So to put into terms what the frolic effect is, it's basically the juxtaposition of something with very serious tones to it, very serious subject matter, with something absolutely silly. So in the first case, we saw a clip of Caitlyn Jenner discussing her new book, in which she talked about the struggles of transitioning. And then it's kind of ended quickly with this silly music that we heard from Curb Your Enthusiasm. So again, the juxtaposition between serious subject matter and comedy to kind of ease the tension. In the second video, we saw the bully on the subway system having his pants pulled down. So again, the very serious subject matter of potentially a fight breaking out. The bully has his pants pulled down, and all of a sudden the tension in this situation is absolutely gone.
Okay, so that's what the definition of frolic effect is. It's to add levity to a situation that would otherwise be an incredibly tough subject matter or something that is it's a heavy subject matter. So right now we just want you to, well, you guys are in groups of 4 because we think ahead, and we just want you guys to kind of brainstorm what similar techniques you can maybe use in a class. If you were to breach a subject matter that's going to be maybe heavy for you, heavy for the students, how you can make it a bit more happy, a bit less serious, you know, so you don't just dump it on them, you know. How is comedy used in the classroom to your benefit? Is
Also
the
think
larger
of,
question.
like we saw with the diversity in the videos, how can you use like a broader range of topics to instill this idea into? So we just asked the group support to take 3 or 4 minutes to discuss these ideas.
So immediately,
This is the thing where it's-
memes on the last slide, right? So using memes is one of the uses. You can use memes.
Oh, that's a good
Yeah.
start. I'm not even thinking about that.
I mean, because
Feel pressure to do it.
That's a good point.
I'm a good history. You're 6 and 3.
I know. I know. It's too
One of the things you might notice in these situations is really cool.
There's really a fine line.
Well, exactly, right, because we'll talk a bit about that, because I mean, these can backfire huge as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Like concrete.
So there's
I
some
never
situations.
played that, like,
For
Like Dave Chappelle, for example.
Well, I mean, not now.
Does anybody
Some people might be honest, but a lot of.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, well, there was a song for me, we had a one-hit wonder.
I mean, what
And I was
was
like,
it?
my name is Luca, I live on the second floor, I live upstairs from you, don't think it's you.
I mean,
before.
I'll see what's happening.
Anyways, 2 weeks ago, when that little boy went
It
missing.
probably also depends on
His name
students
is
in the
Luca,
class.
and my buddy put on Facebook,
Yeah,
"Check
background.
check the
I
second
think
floor,
it's something.
because it was one of the lyrics from the song.
Like the floppy doesn't.
Think of a topic.
Yeah, exactly.
As a teacher,
Yes,
what
I'm just-
topics you're comfortable with, like
Yeah, some topics you might just not be
Slow.
comfortable with it.
Anything
Might
to
say,
do with
I'm gonna ruin this
his
if I
hair,
try.
right? I think back to the episode of The Simpsons, when
Whereas Zach, he'll take
Homer
a topic.
got
I know,
Snape's
it's like it
hair,
also
remember
might
from the
have
hair
been-
transplant?
Like
Yeah.
seriously, like I
And
don't.
you just take, yeah, you just take Donald's face and superimpose it with the hair. Snape's hair.
So back to the Donald Trump example. Take some serious things he's talking about. He'll kind of blow over with these jokes that they make about
Because I think those would be the funniest things to do, personally.
I mean,
Yes,
should be
I
balanced.
was wondering
Yeah,
if
yeah, exactly,
to,
So there's no situation where
start to disseminate this kind of
kids are distracted to, right? You're distracted to point
discussing
And then there's also
in that situation, ask
say
some
no Donald
questions
Trump as opposed
in
to
order to
doing
make you think more
Well,
or
it's what
at least
totally
doing
how
that
it's
in your classroom. Because sometimes the person.
So again, we're talking about context, right? Which context? And we talk about this with
The other
kindergarten.
students with
Maybe
other.
not.
Oh, maybe not
Can you
kindergarten.
talk about this
That's
with
hard-
higher
hard
ed
to-
students?
I
Definitely
think
higher
that's
ed
different, like
students.
I wouldn't
So there's
necessarily
like a- basically
like
comes down to
addressing
the
this,
whole
like when a
context.
student
Yeah.
is
For
doing
certain
something
types of
really like
humor, for
problematic.
certain- for
But like if
all
you're
participants.
presenting like subject matter, maybe like starting off with like kind of maybe.
Yeah, maybe starting before.
Those are
We're not
fun.
trivialize trauma and suffering of
Because-
people.
I don't know, maybe, because you,
Like,
they
like-
don't know, they might not necessarily, yeah, what we're talking about yet.
The funny thing doesn't necessarily have to happen in the topic. Like the train or metro incident, pantsing someone has nothing to do with fighting. But it was so different and random that it distracted him. And
There's still 22
so you
minutes.
can maybe break tension if his tension starts getting too high, bring something totally different in.
Just call all the teachers from the classroom, just constantly from the class.
See, that, we actually had that conversation. Where's the right age where you go pants a kid?
It starts being.
Or just 2 girls start fighting, that's one of the girls like, oh, you're in trouble now.
Yeah. Alright, so now focus back on the front. We'd like everyone to just kind of share some of the ideas that they come up with. So what are some situations where you can use something similar to the frog effect in your classes?
It feels pretty delicate, like you have to do it properly. And like we were talking about the difference, like if you're addressing like a student doing something inappropriate in class versus like you presenting subject matter, like those, it seems like those are 2 different cases where like one, you could maybe use comedy to do it, maybe the other one.
So in the first case, you won't want to point a student out by humiliating them, let's say,
Yeah.
in a sense, right? Mike brought up a good point, and Peter as well, about some learning contexts being much too sensitive. So, for example, recent tragedies, to throw humor into it was would not really appropriate to certain situations, right? So it's important to understand when you can and can't use comedy in the classroom, humor in a sense, especially something like the frolic effect. So basically to have that huge juxtaposition between these two things.
There is such a time as too soon when it comes to comedy, especially, so, you know, if you start making Las Vegas jokes right now, or something like that to try and add levity something, I mean, you gotta pick your time, and yeah, and like the group, you guys said the same thing of when you do use this, you can't pick out a student to use it as a transition to whatever it is. Like it has to be done. It has to be done in a tactful way for sure. So these were a couple of ours, and we have some downsides as well. But yeah, ours were, you know, our first example wasn't even about when it came to subject matter. It was what if a serious, heated discussion happened in the classroom, or an argument ensued, or even just if there was even a fight on the playground for that. And you know, adding a joke to the situation, I always find is some of the best ways to completely diffuse a situation where it is just getting really heated. And I've seen it happen where just a well-placed joke from the teacher, from another student, everyone goes, oh, you know, you step back from the situation, and you can have a laugh before you get back into it.
Not that, but going into the whole heated arguments idea, like Zach was saying, it's a good way to kind of lighten the mood, but also you're trying to get the attention from the students and their situation back to yourself to kind of further this learning environment. So you're trying to increase the chance of students being able to learn in your classroom, despite whatever might be happening, to kind of disrupt that focus.
Yeah, so like we said, I mean, I'm pretty sure everyone was kind of talking, because this is what we alluded to most often, is heavier loaded topics on how to not make something hilarious that is serious, but how to broach it in a more lighthearted way than, you know, just barreling it on, you know, foot on the pedal. So this one, it really ties into the second point we have about when the students are feeling too nervous to talk about the subject matter. I mean, it'll happen, probably not so much in university, but, you know, especially when you're going to be teaching high school or younger grades. And I know a lot of us in here are TESOL or ELA. So, you know, you also have the added layer of kids already not wanting to talk. So, you know, adding a joke to something, so everyone looks a bit more on the same plane. You know what I mean? Like a good one is, you know, I've always found, and I brought it up in another class, is especially to butcher their language, to make a joke, to make them speak English. You know what I mean? It's always a good one to do. Like, you just make a joke, and they go, "Oh, okay, well, the teacher's screwing up and is willing to make an ass of himself. You know, let's give it a stab at that." Generally, because we're learning English. So, yeah, and as Sam was talking about transition and to regain the student's attention back in front of the teacher. So, yeah.
So now going on to the downsides, as we saw with the first video with Caitlyn Jenner, you know, certain things are they're very sensitive subjects that a lot of students might feel uncomfortable talking about. So in the Caitlyn Jenner video, something with discussing her new book where she talked about her transition. Now, something like that would not be a good moment to make a joke. So, which is why the first video is a good example of when not to use something like the frolic effect. When it could be inappropriate, could be seen as insensitive towards others. Whereas in the second video, we saw someone that was sort of posing this threat onto another person for lack of context in the video, for seemingly no reason. So in certain cases, it's very appropriate to kind of settle this tension with humor. In certain cases, it might be seen as being inappropriate or insensitive. So our second point, obviously, it could increase the awkwardness. Now, if you're increasing the awkwardness in a classroom, this might disrupt the focus that you're holding for the students. It might kind of weaken the learning atmosphere. Now again, backfiring.
Backfiring, I mean, backfiring is exactly what it sounds like, where it has the complete opposite effect of what you hope to do. It makes the situation worse. Or, you know, if you're a teacher and you're new and you backfire with what is ostensibly trying to be a joke and you're trying to get to the student's level, and it backfires where you just look like a bad person or the joke comes off terribly bad, and then you have this really awkward feeling, especially when you're a new teacher. I mean, you're already nervous at the front of the class, and if it doesn't go over well, students will just think you are awkward, or you're just not with them, and you probably have a bad rest of the school year. Or the effect make no sense, and it just causes some confusion with the class. I mean, the joke would have to have a context to a certain degree within what you were doing, you know, especially if this was the subject matter. Especially, you know, this group said quite a bit that, you know, introducing a meme into the new subject matter would be a good idea, like we saw with King Jong-un and holding the floppy disk. If you were to have to talk about North Korean, United States relationships right now. I mean, it's funny, but it makes sense if that's what you're talking about. If you have something completely off the loop that just does not go to what the subject matter you're talking about at all it's going to do is cause mass confusion within the class, and you're going to have to climb your way back and do a U-turn. So, you know, there are a lot of downsides to it.
To give a personal example of a time when I've seen the sort of backfiring of the frolic effect, I spoke to Zach about this a few days ago. When I was in elementary school, we had a huge assembly in our gym, and it was for Remembrance Day. There were a bunch of veterans that were on stage, some were giving speeches, and essentially during a very quiet period, a student not too far in front of me, sitting down in the auditorium, in the gym, farted, and it was very loud, and it disrupted the entire classroom. So in this context, the whole frolic effect, which this caused in the gym, basically caused the entire student body to lose focus, and all attention was gone. For the rest of the assembly that we had, there was absolutely no focus being paid towards the veterans, which was a shame, but was an example of how the frolic effect can backfire quite heavily.
So, as you may have guessed, one of the it's like a larger umbrella is what we were talking. I mean, frolic effect is obviously it's something underneath the umbrella we wanted to talk about. But our larger concept was really more humor in the classroom and how we do feel it's a necessity to be used. I mean, I think a lot of the arguments that come out of that, someone will go, "Oh, I'm not funny," or something like that. I mean, everyone's funny to a certain degree, and this isn't just, you know, humor in the classroom. It could just be almost used more or less, use your strengths. You know, it doesn't have to be completely academia 24/7, and use some of your strengths that you use in everyday life to the benefit to your class. Bring in who you are. We chose humor, but everyone else is a bunch of, you know, everyone has their own thing. You know, we just thought humor would be a good one to do for us.
What it comes down to with the frolic effect is basically diffusing a situation. So in that context, does anyone have any examples of themselves, not necessarily in a classroom context, but in work, at home, anything, where they've used something similar to this to sort of ease the tension in the situation? Jesse?
I didn't know it was called the frolic effect, but I try to do that, especially lately. I think maybe I've learned about it more explicitly at some point, I don't know. But I decided on purpose to try and diffuse tensions or conflicts or fights and bring, like, among people I know, just bring in an inside joke or just trying to find some way of bringing humor into it to make the angry people laugh and be like, okay, maybe I'm not so angry.
Perfect, yeah. It's very easy to, in a situation like that, to kind of settle everything easily without any violence.
Yeah,
Right?
it's really helpful.
Especially with the friends and inside joke is we'll usually do it.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good idea. So, any last points you guys want to make, or funny stories, or? Or look at it. All right, guys. Well, that's us. And cheers.
Thank you very much.
Mike,